Let's go!
I don't know. Maybe we have to take Netflix a little bit more seriously in the gaming department than we were before.
But are they actually producing any games?
Well, they just bought the studios, but they plan on producing games. They haven't. All it's talks, right? They are 3 studios now that they own. Who knows what they're gonna do with it? I don't even know how that works. Like, I guess you could Netflix app on the phone. You could turn your phone into a controller because you're not gonna be able to use a TV controller to play a game on Netflix. It's not like a Roku remote or anything like that. Well, it's not going to be responsive enough.
Just because Netflix owns the studio doesn't mean they're necessarily releasing games on Netflix, right?
Yeah. They might make a second app or whatever, but they did talk about they wanted to bring games to a streaming service when they bought the first one.
But I mean, they could just be producing games for Windows
true.
and console.
They could be having physical copies as well.
Yeah. Could just be a new line of business until they figure out how or if they're going to integrate it into their service.
Yeah. Now, I could see, though, them having a controller app or like a controller in their Netflix app. Because as long as you're hooked up to the same Wi-Fi, I've used a phone as a controller for these things, and it's more responsive than your TV controller. It can be very, very responsive for stuff like that. Or if they try to go more of a phone game route for some of this stuff, and the phone game streamed directly in like a Netflix games app, well, then the controllers could just be directly on the screen.
Yeah.
You know, like there are ways that they could do it. I just hope they're not trying to do what some older services tried to do. Like, because you can play Angry Birds on Roku and stuff like that, and it's just horrible because how like not responsive a Roku controller is.
Yeah. You kind of need touch controls for Angry Birds, right?
Sort of ish. You can use like the directional buttons while
Yeah.
like it would basically like you hit OK and it starts priming it. And then you can use the directional buttons to pull it in a direction. Then you hit OK again and it releases it. It's the most retarded thing, and it takes forever because if you've ever used a remote control on a streaming service as opposed to even just with a DVD player, using just infrared and a low power infrared, it takes like half a second for an option to go through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work.
Probably not.
But I mean, they could do. Yeah, I mean, in order to do regular controllers, they'd have to have some sort of device.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Weird.
They're going to start giving away they're selling a Netflix box. Not only will it play your Netflix stuff, but you can now play games on it. Comes with a controller.
Yeah, they'd have to have a controller that connects to a console of some sort, but
accepts any Bluetooth controller.
Yeah. It would probably be more successful than the Intellivision Amico.
Yeah, probably do better than the Stadia. Because at least then most people already have Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Amico. I don't actually have those two. Which one's a bigger joke, the Amico or Stadia?
You know, the Amico just released an unboxing video.
Of what?
So
what did they have to unbox?
The console.
I thought it stopped existing. I thought they were going towards software.
Really? I didn't hear that.
I thought we were vaguely talking about it. It might have just been something that was up in the air.
Yeah. I think it was speculation. I mean, they just in the last week released a video of them unboxing it. So apparently
it exists.
The console still exists.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Well, welcome to the Vomitorium, episode 134, everyone. As always, I am your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer, whose voice is less hoarse than it was before. How you doing today?
Slightly. I'm all right.
Yeah.
I just released a video on my channel. I got to do more videos on my channel. I just released a video about Scott Adams' soon-to-be ex-wife and his, how did I put it, less than ideal response to her telling him that she had breast cancer. So
I understand that the situation basically speaks for itself, but you got to put a little bit more commentary into it. just
do I? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I could.
Yeah.
It was just shocking. Yeah,
very, very. It was. I laughed. I shouldn't have. I felt bad for laughing because that's a funny ass response to that, but it's also a horrible response. Saying, "Well, good luck. Another excuse to not sleep with me." Like,
yeah.
That's like something you expect to hear in a sitcom. It's like, is Scott Adams? He's all about like manifestation. Is he actually just living a sitcom? Is that why his cartoon was so funny when he was drawing it for newspapers?
I don't know. He thinks he's living in a simulation.
Yeah.
So maybe
his simulation is a sitcom. He's living in a situational comedy simulation.
Yeah, maybe he just looks at her like an AI.
Yeah.
He's like, oh well. Oh well, one less AI to deal with, I guess.
One less. Well, it also depends on like what form of simulation theory he believes in, right? Because some people believe they're the only person in the simulation because you're the only perspective you can actually account for. But some people believe everyone is in the simulation and there might be some like NPCs or AI there, and you can never tell the difference between a real person or not. And some people just believe it's like an ancestor, grandfather simulation where everyone in it is fake and they're just reliving a historical event or whatever. But regardless what if you believe you're in a situation or not, what does that matter? Because it doesn't change how you have to live your life.
Yeah.
It's real to you.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's just trying to be funny, I guess, or something.
Maybe, yeah. Like, I think he thinks he lives in a sitcom. He's got to have like these witty one-liners and stuff. I mean, even the way he runs his show, it kind of reminds me of Last Man Standing, where he has like his little updates on the store site to get people to keep going there and checking out the merchandise and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I thought it was a funny video that she put out on Twitter and then later deleted. But the internet's forever, so
yeah.
Somebody managed to snag it before she deleted it. What's funny is I was watching his daily, whatever stream, which he does every day.
Yeah.
At 9 a.m. Central, and he didn't know about the video until somebody told him during the stream, and then I'm guessing he called her up and was like, "Would you mind deleting that?" So,
well, I mean, at least she's married to somebody wealthy enough that the treatment is going to be very affordable.
Hopefully, I mean, we don't know. We don't know what the what do we call it? Prenup was like, but I imagine she gets a good chunk.
Yeah.
At least enough to have insurance.
Yeah, well, I mean, that actually is very interesting, right? Because at most, she might only qualify for some form of alimony, depending on how long they've been married, right? But also, given the fact that they met at a sugar daddy site, if that brings up in any delegations, that might end up voiding a lot of stuff because it gives malicious intent as a possibility of like, oh, she's coming into it for money.
I guess, but I mean, they have a prenup, so I'm sure that spells out exactly what is supposed to happen.
Yeah, possibly, but a prenup is just a contract, and the problem is all contracts are technically void in the eyes of the law if they can be argued that something breaks a law in it.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's probably just going to be clean cut, though. Like,
yeah,
they seem overall to be having a good humor about it.
I wonder if it complicates the issue, the fact that she was diagnosed before they got divorced. I mean, I think they're still married at the moment, I imagine. I don't know.
Well, it depends if the diagnosis came before declaring it, right?
Before what?
Declaring it, like before any conversations about it or not, right? Because if if you could argue that the diagnosis came before one of them was approached for the divorce, that there might be intent behind the diagnosis being the reason for divorce. Lawyers are just really good at this shit, like.
Yeah. The way she said it, it sounded like that was one of the reasons for the divorce.
It's a horrible reason to get divorced with somebody.
Well,
especially when you're wealthy. Right? Like.
Because they don't care that you have cancer?
Yeah. Like, this person's been in your life for a while. You're rich enough that somebody's cancer treatment really isn't going to be the end of the world. Like, you freaking divorce them because they have cancer is kind of just a shitty thing to do.
No, I mean, she's divorcing him because he doesn't care about her.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought he was the one that was engaging on the divorce end.
No,
I was misinterpreting this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the way she put it. I think she said one of the reasons they're getting divorced is because of his response.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. I thought it was going the other way around. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't really know. I mean,
no, of course not. You only hear things. At this point, it's all just drama. It's gossip at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that I even really give a shit about Scott Adams' life.
No, I don't either.
He's the type of person that, like, I literally only ever hear anything about secondhand. Like, maybe occasionally I'll see a snippet of one of his streams or whatever in my Twitter feed because somebody retweeted it. But, like, I don't go out of my way to learn anything about this guy. He just somehow keeps popping up in my life. I'm like, why? especially because like he claims to be like somebody who kept predicting things, but his predictions were good up until a point where now a lot of them have just been wrong consistently over and over again within like the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he skips. He doesn't talk about the ones he got wrong.
Of course not. Anyway, what we were talking about Netflix. Without context, because we were in the middle of a cold open. The reason we were talking about Netflix is because they bought yet another gaming studio. We talked about this maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, whenever they bought their first one, which was Next Games. And they declared they were going into the gaming market. They said they did specifically say they wanted to talk about streaming games, right? They wanted to basically become Blockbuster in a way. But obviously, Netflix is more worried about originals these days than other people's stuff. So they're buying studios. We have no idea what they're going to do with those studios. I think mobile games, at least at first, would probably be the smart idea. But who knows how smart they are. And then they bought Night School Studio next, which is the Oxenfree developer. And just recently, they bought Boss Fight Entertainment, which is a local Texas studio. And the last two, so Next Games, I looked at it, it's like, yeah, I could see mobile. I could see maybe even like a visual novel type experience, like a choose your own adventure thing on Netflix. That would have been possible with the type of stuff that they were doing. I didn't think they were that serious in gaming yet. I figured it was just going to be a typical Netflix experience.
Yeah.
But then the next two that they buy is like, no, these are like actual studios that make games you're used to seeing when you think of the word video game.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know if they're saying that they're going to integrate these into Netflix somehow, or if it's just that they're making into game development.
Yeah, like even if it's mobile,
As
they
a
could just
publisher.
put it straight on the Google Play Store or an Apple Store and stuff like that. And
yeah, or just release games on Steam and consoles and just be a game publisher published by Netflix.
yeah. Now, it does say, though, in here, Netflix's commitment to offer ad-free games as part of member subscriptions enables game developers like us to focus on creating delightful gameplay without worrying about monetization. We couldn't be more excited to join Netflix at this early stage as we continue to do what we love while helping to shape the future of games on Netflix together. There's a quote directly from the studio's VP.
I mean, it could mean that you just log into the game with your Netflix login.
Could be, yeah. Right. Maybe it's going to be like on the Play Store. Anybody can play it with an ad-supported experience, but if you have a Netflix login, it becomes ad-free. I don't know what that means. It's pretty broad. But like I said, they were talking about making some games streamable, whether that was maybe a separate service. Like Netflix also has Netflix Kids, which is dedicated for kids. Maybe they'll start a Netflix Games service for all we know.
Yeah, could be just a mobile app. I don't know.
I would think it would have to at first because, well, not necessarily. There could be, there's different versions of Netflix, different supported versions. They all look kind of uniform now, but if you actually dig into the code of the game, if you were to data mine it, their PlayStation and Xbox have a unique, they have the same version of Netflix. The code is basically identical, but it does register as a game file on your thing. The browser and mobile versions of Netflix are different as well. So while they look uniform, these are different apps. So they could have different libraries eventually show up in these different apps. So you could have a streamable library of, if they have a mobile style game, it only shows up in the mobile app. If you have like a PC game, it only shows up in the PC. And maybe a Roku version wouldn't have games available to it because you don't have the way to control it. But it'd be easy to just stream and control a game on a PlayStation or Xbox that already has a controller.
Yeah, I guess, I didn't think of that. The fact that there is a Netflix app on PlayStation and Switch and all that stuff. Is there a Netflix app on Switch?
No, I think it's actually one of the few things that still isn't on there. There's YouTube. I think Twitch had finally added their app to Switch as well. Crunchyroll's on there, but Netflix has yet to have a Switch app.
But there is one on PlayStation.
Yes, yeah.
Right? So yeah, I guess that's a good point, is that they could stream the games through their service on the PlayStation and you use the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Xbox.
It would be no different than a Google Stadia at that point, right? It's just streaming an app directly to you.
Yeah.
Which even then, you could still do with some of the mobile games, because a lot of mobile-style games are still completely playable on a console with a controller, because the console is way more powerful than the phone. The game just has to be built with controller support.
Yeah. I don't know how much they could store locally versus how much of it would be streamed.
Yeah.
Or if it would all be streaming. I don't know.
It's uncharted territory, but apparently Netflix feels like they're better at mapping these seas than Google is. I mean, to be fair, though, at least they're buying gaming companies. Google literally was just trying to make a Netflix-like service. I don't think they actually own a company, as far as I know. Maybe they part own some companies. I'm sure Google probably has a lot of shares in a lot of different gaming companies, because Alphabet is a big fucking company that invests in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of competition in becoming publishers for games now than there used to be. It almost feels like the late 80s, early 90s again when it comes to publishing games, when everybody was trying to have their hand at it. And eventually a lot of them just kind of like fell off because it was very hardware focused back then. If you wanted to be a major publisher, you needed hardware. And when things like the old Intellivision or ColecoVision and stuff like that, when all the hardware became too expensive for these companies to keep going, everybody just kind of went into being a software developer instead of like a general publisher. But now, shoot, if you have a service like this where people are paying you a subscription, you don't even necessarily need the hardware yourself.
Yeah. Everything's software.
Yeah. Or if you're Apple, technically you also have the hardware yourself. It's interesting to see Apple get back into it because they wanted to a long time ago. They at one point in time they were considering throwing out an Apple console. I think in the late 90s, early aughts. In fact, since they were always having games for it, Halo was originally supposed to be an Apple game before Microsoft came in and kind of sniped it from them and got it onto the Xbox that they were putting out.
Yeah, it seemed like they were going to try and put games on Apple TV and stuff like that. But I don't know whatever happened to all that.
I think they're just worried about the Apple Arcade experience at the moment. I would like it if Arcade got onto TV. It would actually make me want to buy an Apple TV.
Yeah, like you could get something like Fantasian that's,
yeah.
iOS only and actually play it on a TV.
Because I know Apple TV is 100% Bluetooth compatible for most things. I don't think they have controller support for it because they don't have games on it. But I would imagine, since it has like all three major frequencies of Bluetooth, that they could easily do a firmware update to any Apple TV to make it compatible for Bluetooth controllers. And then you could just play a game with it. Of course, also the game has to be compatible, but
Yeah.
More people might make controller compatible games if people had an Apple TV experience for it.
I wish they would. I wish they'd release like Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 on something. Either Steam or mobile, preferably with controller support.
No, I'm just going to wait because eventually after Dragon Quest 3 2D HD remake does well, we're just going to get HD remakes of the other ones.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
As long as it, doesn't take like decades.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, they're pumping this stuff out fast, though, considerably, right? I mean, with how long Octopath has been out, it's only since 2018, and I've been playing that sequel to Octopath. I guess it's a sequel, side game. Not only would you not consider a mobile gacha direct sequel, but I can't tell when it takes place. If it's like slightly before, slightly after, at the same time that Octopath is taking place, but it's following other traveler stories. And I've already seen mention of Hunnet, one of the Octopath Traveler characters, the H in Octopath, mentioned, which means, well, this has to take place roughly in the same time period if you could possibly meet her. But yeah, so it's like they have a spin-off to that, to HD remake of 3, Triangle Strategy, Live Alive. Like, they're pumping out so many games in this, and I think it's because, one, they're not using their own engine, right? They're using Unreal. This one uses Cryware, which I know is very compatible with Unreal. They were probably able to just port all the stuff over to it. So once they have the framework for the world, all they have to do is work on assets and then slightly modifying mechanics to fit whatever game they are working on. And most of them are turn-based anyway, so it's not like you're modifying mechanics that much. You're just like renaming variables, changing out assets and things like that. That like they pretty much just have this like Mad Lib style formula where they can just insert the things they need as needed. And they're just paying people to make assets and move this stuff around.
Yeah. I'm seeing that, like, apparently they have not announced whether Dragon Quest III HD, 2D, whatever, is going to be even released this year, though.
Yeah, I know.
That could be next year. By the way, I looked it up. There are games on Apple TV, and you can use a Bluetooth. Yeah.
Shit, I didn't even know that.
And you can use a Bluetooth gamepad with it.
Well, there goes something onto the wish list.
I don't see a whole lot of. I mean, let's see, Rayman Adventures, Dungeon Hunter 5.
Listen, it's not about what's on there now. It's
Yeah.
about the investment for what might be on there later.
Yeah, this is an article from December
No.
of 2021 saying there are games on the Apple TV, apparently. I thought there were. I just couldn't remember.
Too bad Fantasian is not one of them.
Yeah,
Which makes sense because it doesn't have controller support.
True. Wait.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Oh, I thought that was one of the ones you were complaining didn't have it.
No, that's like one. That's like the only one I can.
The
find
only one that had it. Oh, okay.
It's like the only game on the freaking entire App Store that has controller support. I should get back to that, actually.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it does, definitely. Nothing else, though.
I'm gonna just yell at Apple to put it on the Apple TV. Just, I don't care. Like, I'll pay for an arcade membership just to play it, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I can't guarantee that. Are you sure that it's not? It might be.
I don't know. It might be. I don't know. But I also like to yell at Apple, so I might just do it anyway.
I'm not gonna look it up right now.
Yeah. I'll yell at them vigorously. They'll yell at me back. It's already on there. Like I'll yell, cool. I'll pay for your arcade. All caps. We'll just have we'll have a time of it.
Yeah.
Old man yells at cloud gaming.
Is that a pun?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm relying on you for the news this time around because I can't find anything.
Yeah. Well, we talked about more streaming services. Here we go. I'm trying to tie things together, trying to hit things in order. So, due to kind of like an insider leak, it's a rumor, but it's more of a report because it's coming from a trusted source. Bloomberg has discovered that PlayStation will soon, very, very soon, whatever that means, soon could be a month to a year for all we know, revealing their Spartacus program. It's not the actual name. That's just a code name, Spartacus. All these companies like to have their fancy code names. I think it stops people from figuring out what they're working on. Oh, code name Dolphin. It's the fucking GameCube. Like, we didn't know it was called the GameCube, but we knew what you were working on. But yeah, codename Spartacus is going to be
Spartacus sounds a little gay, though.
It does. Yeah, yeah.
I've seen those Roman gladiator movies. I know what goes on. Anyway, go ahead.
You know, there's some misconceptions about that because while there was some gay stuff going on, a lot of people like to overblow how prevalent it was. But Spartacus itself is a pretty gay movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, like everybody likes to remember that part with I am Spartacus, but like the rest of the movie is pretty fucking gay. So I'll give you that one.
There's some bath scenes. Yes.
Yeah.
As I recall. But anyway.
That's probably why they're calling it Project Spartacus, though, because that whole little, like, we're all Spartacus, because it's a streaming thing. And it's going to be combining PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus together as a competitor to Xbox's Game Pass in the same way that Xbox combined its Xbox arcade streaming service with the Xbox Gold membership from before. So it's something they've been needing to do. I feel the pressure has probably been on them, like an iron set right on their back.
Well, I could never. You know, when you get a new PlayStation, it asks you if you want to sign up for Plus or Now, and I'm like, I don't. Why are these two separate things?
Yeah.
Like,
because historically they've been two separate things. That's the reason why, right? PlayStation Now, I think, is actually older than Xbox's streaming thing, so it's kind of like archaic at this point, and they just need to merge it into a better system. And Plus was the bonus membership because, like we were talking before, back in the PlayStation 3 days, you had access to the online features for free. You didn't have to pay any extra on there. And now you have to pay a membership to be able to use the online services like cloud backups, multiplayer across the internet, and stuff like that.
So which one is that? Is that Plus or Now?
That's Plus.
Oh.
Yeah, well, Now is the streaming service, and now they're putting them together as one.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out. Like, all I know, like, Plus gives you free games.
Yes, they'll have like a monthly Plus game or whatever, and as long as you keep your Plus up, you can still play the game. So you pick the game once and it stays on your account.
But, so if I stop paying for Plus, do I lose all those games?
Yes, technically, it'll read that you don't have the license for them. Unless they changed it, but this is how it worked back in PlayStation 3 when Plus was just a bonus thing, because I used to have it. And you would get things like the Simpsons arcade game and stuff like every month they'd have a different game you could pick up, and it would stay on your account indefinitely. But then, like, it was time to re-up, and I forgot to because I didn't have it set to auto pay because it was just like financially insecure. I don't want it taking my money on me without me making sure I have it. And I went to go play, actually it might have been the Simpsons arcade. It was one of their games, and it said you don't have access to PlayStation Plus. So it was like a license error to it. Oh. And I had to renew to be able to play the game again.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is better, actually, right? Because if this is just a streaming service, then you won't even have the game just sitting there. They're not lying to you about the ownership of your game or anything like that. It's like the Switch Online or how Game Pass will work.
Yeah. But I don't want to stream games. That's the thing. I want to install them locally.
They might have options for that. They might still keep that. But, I mean, at least, like, I don't even think they were ever lying to you about it. It's just they weren't very clear about the terms. You had to, like, read through this huge end user license agreement when signing up for Plus in the first place. But again, it wasn't very clear, and a lot of people thought that they were picking up the games permanently onto their account and not that it was just a part of being an active Plus member.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I didn't realize that, or maybe I did.
It's not
I don't
very
know.
clear
because I've got like Final Fantasy 15 on my PS5, and I've got that Tiny Tina's Wonderlands thing.
Oh yeah, I've been meaning to try that.
I've got that, and I just assume I get to keep them forever.
Yeah, I don't know if they changed it. Like I said, this is how it worked back in the PS3. I haven't actually used PlayStation Plus throughout 4, and I don't have a 5, so I haven't used the service since they changed things over to being mandatory.
I don't know. I guess that doesn't bother me too much. I guess the only games that I really care about keeping are like, the games that I actually bought.
Yeah.
Like Elden Ring. I've actually bought that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the other caveat with this is, unlike Game Pass, where the latest like first party releases, Halo Infinite, the upcoming Starfield, will be available on Game Pass at launch. Any like the Bethesda games that people always look forward to are going to be available on launch and stuff like that. PlayStation service is not expected to do that. So like God of War Ragnarok, you will still have to purchase during its launch window. It's only going to be back cataloged of games, and we don't know how long a game has to be around to be considered back catalog.
Well, it'd still be nice if they combine them. Are they going to raise the price? Because I could pay for PlayStation. What are they called again? Plus and now. Yeah. But I wasn't willing to pay for both.
Yeah. I don't know. This is all just like an early report. There's no actual like hard details on what the cost is. There's some estimates. So from VentureBeat, which was another report that had it, they think there's going to be 3 tiers called Essential, Extra, and Premium, priced at a monthly service of $10, $13, and $16 respectively. But that could be changed once the the service is actually revealed. And that's kind of reasonable, because they did eventually change to a monthly model. Originally, you could only buy PlayStation Plus yearly. But it was okay. I think I was paying like $60 a year when they first came out. So it's like that's fair if you chop that up by 12. Yeah. But if you're combining the two services plus inflation since that like decade ago when that was the case, 10, 13, 16 for actually getting to play games, that's actually not a bad price.
Yeah. I just wonder if they're all going to be, or if there's a significant number that are going to be all streaming. And I don't know, after seeing, at least, I know it was on Switch or whatever, but after trying out Kingdom Hearts streaming, it was like, oh God, this is horrible. This is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I'm going to try to at least stay positive about it, because it does say that it's combining the Plus and Now experience. And a lot about Plus is having a local download of the game. So there might be a combination of the two. That might actually even end up being one of the differences between the price plans, right? If you get Essential, you may only have access to streaming because you're having the cheapest model. Maybe Premium will come with downloads. Who knows? It's all very early on this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be less confusing, that's for sure. Hopefully.
Yeah. PlayStation has a good job of confusing people. It's about time they're even doing stuff like we were talking before. They used to be some of the innovators back in like PlayStation 1 and 2 era. 3, not so much. The only innovation is that they started using Blu-ray, which Sony already owned and was using anyway. And then they started lagging behind because they were so focused on like censorship and all this stuff. Like, come on. I still can't get over that they have a 6-month approval process that everyone in the industry who wants to be on PlayStation works around, because the other publishers just let them do it like that. So it's like, okay, now that we're through their process, we can start planning our global launch date and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, a lot of people are like, well, what's the big deal if they censor or whatever? But I think it does seem to take up a significant portion of their productivity or something, because like, it seems like when companies start to focus on things like censoring or whatever, they lose focus on the more important things. And it's ridiculous. And you might think, crazy. Why can't they do both at once? But I don't know, they lose the ability to innovate or something. It's just, focusing your company on that takes away focus from more important things. This shows us as Japan is eventually going to stop using PlayStation.
That is possible. So a lot of Japanese companies have been moving further and further away from Sony in general because of the restrictions. Some of them, even like the censorship doesn't affect them, but they're worried it might one day because it's affecting their like peers would be the proper term. They're the other Japanese developers, and like, well, you know, if their censorship keeps getting tighter, who knows how it might affect us in the future. And another part is Japan is very nationalistic, so they probably would have been able to put up with it if Sony was still a Japanese company. But now that they're an American company, it's like, well, we're not going to let Americans tell us how to make our games.
Yeah. Has Xbox made more inroads into Japan? Because I know
slightly. I mean, Sony's still outselling them, but they've had a larger sales record since the Series X came out than ever before. Part of it is it was hard to get PlayStations, no matter where you are, in Japan too, and easier to get Xbox. Another one is a lot of the games aren't being censored on it, so anything that's not available on the Switch, they would just go to the Xbox to get the uncensored version. But it's still not like a huge population that's playing Xbox over there. It's growing though.
Can you imagine if Nintendo came out with a console that was,
powerful
like, the other two, and it's like, we don't censor, I don't know.
Remember back when Nintendo's catchphrase was their slogan, "Now you're playing with power"?
Yeah. And I mean, their online services are cheaper and maybe not quite as good, but they could potentially,
here's the problem though. I think one of the reasons we don't have a powerful Nintendo system is because Nintendo cares about the consumer on the end of making things affordable for them. And you see how expensive the other consoles are starting to become because they're at this like endless graphics war, while Nintendo's like, listen, we can still make our games look good within our limitations. We just care more about the user end experience than anything.
Yeah. I just wonder if they'll ever, will the Switch 2 Pro Deluxe Edition, will it be able to play Elden Ring? That's my question.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So Nintendo's lagging behind on that, but I think eventually they're just going to catch up, not because they're making a more powerful system for the sake of power. We're hitting some dead ends when it comes to graphic computing. Just because there's only much power we can pump into microchips. There's just only so much of it. And we're hitting to the point that if you want to make a stronger computer, you're gonna have to have the old computers, space station, a room that is just a computer, so you could vacuum tubes and pump a city's worth of energy into it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. To hear Apple talk about it with their, did you see the Apple Studio?
I did.
Computer? Yeah. To hear Apple say it, the sky's the limit in terms of
that's what they
performance.
think. Yeah.
I mean, granted, they've switched to RISC chips, but the performance on those M1 Ultras and whatever are pretty impressive. Excuse me.
They are, but the problem is, again, they're just pushing closer and closer to the limit. I've been hearing a lot of engineers in the computing side worry about what the limit of digital technology is and how they're trying to find ways of reincorporating analog computers into digital computers to try to cover some of the power problems. Because the problem with analog is it's not precise, but it runs everything in real time. It is a one-to-one analog. So if you can use digital interpretation to fine tune for precision, then maybe you could pump up the power that way. But There are like physics limits that chips are pretty much as small as they're ever going to get. We're approaching the size of like atoms. And there's also only so much power you can pump into each individual chip before it melts or like, stops being what it is. So then you just have to put in more chips, which means size gets bigger again. And we just keep running into the same problem where we've been able to shrink it, which means we've been able to fit more chips in there so we can lower power, but then power keeps going back up again. And it's like in this repeating process until we're about to hit our head against a wall.
Yeah, I don't know. But I've been hearing that for years.
Yeah. Well, then the thing is, the end wall hasn't changed. We've just been coming up with innovations to get closer and closer to that end wall. But a lot of people are like, we've made a strive, but we're still going to eventually hit that wall of sooner or later,
Yeah, I mean, they kind of hit the wall of, clock speed.
Yeah.
Back, 20 years ago. But then they decided, well, in that case, we can just add more CPU cores.
Yeah. Well, so that's actually where analog computing might solve the problem, because you don't have a clocking issue with an analog computer, right? So instead of having to worry about a clock, you could oscillate a wave with a current for your the actual clock for the digital components. And then you don't have to worry about clocking speed. So that might actually end up being the solution. We just have to wait until people figure out how you can properly integrate analog computing.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that, Intel.
Yeah, somebody. Throw money at it. You've got a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has more money than Intel when it comes to R&D for that. So they just need to start throwing their money at it.
Yeah.
But speaking of Nintendo, they might care about the user experience, but they sure don't care about fans, because they don't see them as one and the same people.
Uh-oh.
Right? So you know how Nintendo has a pretty strict legal team.
Yep.
And they like to C&D just about everyone. To some extent, they'll let fan art slide as long as you're not making money off of it or anything like that, because they realized, that's fair use, and we keep losing every case that has to do with strictly fan art. But when it comes to other things, so now apparently even Super Mario 64 strategy guide scans can't escape Nintendo's legal team. You can own a strategy guide, but you can't scan the pages and upload them to the internet, even though these guides haven't been in print since like the 1990s.
Is this something new?
Yes.
I have another funny Nintendo story to tell about this. But so what happened? Somebody uploaded a scan of these players guides and they got DMCA'd?
Yeah. So there was a Super Mario 64 guidebook that was like, it was really unique because it had like real world dioramas that replicated each of the 3D levels. And it was recently scanned and uploaded online for free. And Nintendo saw it and issued a C&D towards the uploader.
Did that book even belong to Nintendo, though?
I think so, yes. Because Nintendo used to put out their own strategy guides back in the day, if you remember that, through the same print that they did Nintendo Power on. It wasn't like Primus or any of those other ones. Yeah, Brady games. This was an actual Nintendo licensed Japanese gem book.
Oh.
Yeah.
But how do you get it? I mean, what if I wanted one? I'd have to go on eBay and pay thousands of dollars.
I know, because this thing existed back in 1995. I don't even know how many print runs they did of this very unique guide, because this one had dioramas in it. It wasn't like the normal strategy guide you would have bought at like Kmart or whatever people were buying guides at back then.
I might have owned that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, this one was only in Japanese, right? There was never like an English print of this guide.
Then I didn't.
Yeah, no. We didn't get this guide over here. We just had a normal one with screenshots from the game. Nintendo did put one out themselves because there were like Nintendo guides back then. I actually remember the cover too of it because it was like a what's that? Thwomp's Fortress was the scene on the front of the Nintendo license guide. And that, it was just images from the game with a bunch of like tidbits and stuff in it. Probably about like magazine thick. But yeah, no, this is a completely different one, kind of like a special edition thing. They probably only did the print run in 1995. I doubt they reprinted it any year after that, 6 or 7 either. And there's really nothing they can do to fight the legal team on this. And I think the thing that gets it is because Nintendo owns the copyright to every single one of those images of the diorama. Because that's usually how you can get people in general when it comes to articles of any sort, is like a news company might own the copyright to the photos that are in the article or journal and stuff like that, and they can do like takedown strikes.
Yeah. I mean, if they own it, I guess it's like, but why? I mean,
I know.
Yeah, it seems so anti-fan, anti-consumer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's anti-consumer necessarily. In the case that Nintendo hasn't made money off of this thing in years. So it is definitely more anti-fan than anything, anti-enthusiast. These are the people that love your stuff. Even a quote from Shelvin, the person who put it up, is that he understood that Nintendo needs to protect their intellectual property, but he didn't believe that he was causing any harm to Nintendo by scanning and uploading a 27-year-old guide. The actual quote says, "All I wanted to do was spread my love of this incredible guide and to a larger extent my love for the company." Never released in Western markets.
I guess he could do a video of it and show some of it.
Yeah.
I guess he just couldn't show all of it. But weird. It's just weird.
This is why I pirate things. This, exactly why. Nintendo could have been like, hey, it's cool that you want to share stuff. Could you put like an ad for us on your site? Maybe like a banner ad or something. Like there's a way that anybody could have been having a good thing. It's like, we're not going to pay you for the ad. We're going to let you keep the thing on your site. That's the payment. You just put an ad under there for people to see it. I mean, it's already kind of an ad for Nintendo as it is, but obviously if you're a company, you want to focus more on new products, not something that's been out of print for decades. Like there's reasonable ways that Nintendo could approach these things without having to just C&D people. They could create partnership programs of like, yes, we'll let you keep this up on the condition that we create an agreement on this because that protects our copyright. And if you don't agree, then we C&D, which that is even more fair because being the person in power there, you kind of have the right to negotiation. Like you're the one with all the all the cannons on your side of the battlefield.
Why don't Nintendo just take the scans and put it on their website?
Oh, make it like a My Nintendo reward. They can even have like a translation on there. Pay 50 platinum points or something for this PDF. I don't fucking know.
Have like a Nintendo museum page on the Nintendo.com site. It has stuff like that.
Nintendo's ridiculous.
You know, I don't know.
They've always been a little litigious. It's mostly been the American branch. But ever since some certain changeovers of like executive power between the home branch and the American branch, they've been like super, super litigious on everybody, going down on almost everything.
I mean, I can understand things like as painful as it is to the developers of like the AM2R, another Metroid 2 remake people. That's like, especially because they did the takedown of that right before they released Samus Returns. Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's 100% understandable. But
well, it gets even worse too. Nintendo's been issuing C&Ds not into just like fan products, but also like tournaments and conventions that utilize themes of their games, like logos and stuff, to the point that like other companies don't care. So Summit 4 happened for Smash Brothers recently, which is an invitational only tournament that gets streamed. And normally they have like a Nintendo themed logo and everything for it because it's a bunch of Nintendo characters. But because of all this stuff going on, they've been varying their themes. So instead, they made the logo look like the Final Fantasy IV logo, because there are Final Fantasy characters in the game. Because, you know, fuck Nintendo for their shit. Square's not going to C&D you just for making a logo that looks similar to theirs. Yeah. If anything, they'd be like, oh, that's cool. They like our game.
Yeah. Ironically, Square Enix... or Squeenix, as some people call it, have their fucking content ID all over YouTube.
Yeah.
So you play a Square Enix game and you're going to get content ID'd up the ass.
Yeah, I've noticed, though, as we've talked this before, they do typically release them if you let it sit long enough. Or even if you challenge it. But like they'll release it on its own if it sits long enough. Bots do this, right? And the main reason is so people don't just re-upload songs. So typically gameplay footage eventually gets cleared and remixes eventually get cleared. They just they don't want people making money off of the music that they legally own the rights to. Yeah.
It's just funny because I can play Mario or Zelda all day long and never get a copyright or, a content ID notification. It's no big deal.
At least anymore. But you used to, if you did it during the time they were trying to do that Nintendo Ambassador program, which was the dumbest shit. And it's like, yes, we will let you play our games, period. But only if we get like 5% of all your ad revenue or some bullshit like that, and you have to sign up, and you basically can only be a Nintendo only channel if you even want the revenue. And it was like, dude, all your requirements are stupid. I'd rather just fight the system.
Yeah, well, they figured that out at least.
Yeah.
So there's a funny little side story, semi-related.
Nice.
I was watching a video on Cinemassacre where they were talking about games. I don't remember if it was their Talk About Games podcast or some other, but there's a game on Steam called Vampire Survivors that was released in December that blatantly rips off sprites from Castlevania.
Oh, wow.
Like anywhere from Castlevania 1, 2, and 3. Like and if you look at the gameplay footage, it's pretty blatant. I mean, it's so clearly lazy. Yeah, it is.
Because those sprites are easy to make. Like if you told me to make fresh sprite sheets in the original Castlevania style for stuff, even like a monster that's already there, like a werewolf, I could bring up the sprite as a reference, and I could make you a brand new, unique looking werewolf that matches the style in probably minutes per sprite. Like it would maybe take me like a minute per sprite with how tall those ones are. And it would be easy. Now, no problem whatsoever.
It's possible because it's still an early access game. It's possible they will replace them.
Oh, like they're just stand-ins.
There might be placeholders.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because they were talking about it on Cinemassacre and saying, I wonder how long before Nintendo issues. Or, well, they were talking, they said
it has to be Konami because Nintendo doesn't own the license to that.
That's right. Yeah. And they were saying, Konami probably doesn't give a shit.
No, they probably
as long as it's
they probably don't even
it's not a pachinko machine.
Yeah. Like they would never notice.
Yeah.
Konami's been very loose about their games. Not even because I don't think they wouldn't care. It's that they're just preoccupied with other things that make them money. Because Konami is not a game developer first and foremost. Part of their company develops games. Like many of these larger companies that used to own toy companies, they're a holdings company. They move money around. That's the primary thing that they do. I think like Bandai Namco is also a holdings company that owns toy companies and gaming developers and stuff like that. And people don't understand how many of these companies are not even like Sega or Nintendo, where they have like a primary focus. They're these big, they're basically banks. They work in holdings. That's what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Konami seems to have abandoned Castlevania anyway. Pretty much.
Possibly. We haven't heard news on it in a while, but apparently after Bloodstained was successful, somebody in Konami's gaming department did contact Igarashi and asked if he would like to come back and make another Castlevania game, which he responded on to this like publicly. He even said on his Twitter about talking about this that he would be interested.
Yeah.
But obviously he's also still making Bloodstained, so we haven't heard anything on it in a while. It's probably been like 2 years. We were talking about this when the show just came back. So maybe we'll see more Castlevania in the future. Hopefully it'll be like the good ones if Igarashi is the one that they bring back to direct the games. I'm not holding my breath, but it'd be cool. I'm hoping for it.
Yeah.
I love Castlevania.
Well, Bloodstained is pretty good.
It is. Like, if you have to give me a replacement, I'm like, well, this just feels like Castlevania, just with its own lore. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And I'm also starting to like that character, Miriam. She's cool.
Yeah. Well, that's all I had to add.
That's all you had to add, yeah. But no, I mean, that's the thing, like, you know who also, they have their bots, sure, but doesn't do, like, hardcore C&Ds, is Bandai Namco, right? Like, their bots will pick up music and stuff. I mean, even Konami has bots that'll pick up music. But they're not going out, like, knocking down fan projects and stuff. And, again, it's because they're a holding company, so they don't really care at the end of the day. As long as they don't see their license in jeopardy. That's all that matters. You're far more likely to see the company that owns the anime that they're currently making a game for strike you down than anything else. Like Toei might come in.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing that Bandai Namco is the publisher for both Pac-Man, the original, and Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Talk about longevity. That's 42 years of video games.
They also make one of my favorite fighting game franchises, which is Soul Calibur.
Yeah.
They've been around for a very, very long time, and they still like Pac-Man. That's the most important thing. Most of their companies out there, they don't care for the shit that really got them started. Or, you know, like Konami, they'll throw it on a pachinko machine because like they know people like it. But like Namco actually does a lot with Pac-Man all the time. They've made several championship editions. They keep coming out with like Pac-Man Fevers and stuff like that. They make new Pac-Man themed arcade machines for like things like Round 1 and stuff like that all the time, or like whatever the actual Japanese equivalent is that they're actually making the machines for. Like they really support their mascot. And at least as a gaming department, Pac-Man is their mascot. They like recognize it. And like they're actually very active, their gaming department, because they've worked with Nintendo quite a bit on Smash Brothers and stuff every time a new one comes out.
And they did that Pac-Man 99 thing.
Yeah, that one was pretty good.
Nintendo. Pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good when a company actually likes their thing.
Yeah, another good Japanese company.
Yeah, I know a lot of people complain about them, though, because, again, they are still just a holdings company. Buck complains about them a lot because almost every anime game ends up under Bandai Namco, and they have, like, a bunch of games under the same individual developer. So, like, Dimps makes every single Dragon Ball game for the most part. And all these games suck when it comes to balancing. And he's like, oh, it's Namco's fault. It's Namco's like, well, it isn't. It isn't. It's their fault because they're in charge. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they could make a call. They could send people in for quality control. So ultimately, the blame's on them. But it also isn't their fault because these gaming services or these companies have a lot of nepotism. especially these Japanese ones. There's certain like floaters who go between these companies that work like close with the anime studios and stuff. And like a lot of the problems come with they give them free reign as long as the game makes them money. So it's like it is their fault, but it isn't. Like you want to blame the developer particularly, and then after that you could yell at Namco for not yelling at them. But really what you have to blame more is the consumer because the game makes them money. So as long as people keep buying the games, Namco has no reason to yell at the developer. And it's like, all we see is money. That means the game must be good, right?
Sure, they're happy.
Yeah, like, that's always my argument. It's like, don't buy the game. If they keep making you mad, don't buy the game. You're helping it stay the way it is. You are part of the problem. That's what I have to say to everybody. If a series is not up to snuff for you, if like one of your favorite franchises goes to shit, stop buying the franchise. You're not making it any better. You have to let them know it needs to change.
Yeah.
Like Final Fantasy 15, I was ultimately fine with it. There's things I like about it. I've got more complaints than positive things for things to me that I think are deal breakers. But it was still like good things. I would like to see a lot of the stuff brought into Final Fantasy, but I didn't buy that game until it was like on sale. I paid almost nothing for that game. I didn't buy it when it first came out or anything because I didn't want to support that game because I already knew about a lot of the problems I didn't like about it. And that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
If you really like a game, buy it when it's new to support it. If you're skeptical about it or whatever, and you're doing things you may not be fond of, if you get it at all, wait till it's on sale.
Yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't bought it on Steam because, like I said, I got it for free on the fucking PlayStation.
Yeah.
You know what would be cool is if they did a Final Fantasy 17.
Yeah.
If they did it in a 2D HD like Octopath.
That would be cool, yeah.
Like, why not? It would be a lot quicker probably to make.
Or it'd be cool. So the way it works, right, is they could make a skin for the game. They could make both, right? They could make a 3D model game, not like a super complex one, like maybe Dragon Quest style, right? And the way it's rigged up is they could basically make the skeleton of the model invisible and put sprites over it, and they could literally just have a skin that was like an HD 2D. I'd even pay an extra $5 for that if it took more development time, like it'd be fine. That'd be cool. Make everyone happy.
Dragon Quest 11 you can play in old
sprite.
School sprite mode, which is amazing. Like,
I didn't find that out till later. It actually makes me want to play the game more.
It's so cool. I was like, oh my god, I could play this in like basically Dragon Quest 1, mode.
Because the mechanics are still the same. Well, the reason we don't get that with Final Fantasy is because they don't want to go back to turn-based. That's the problem.
Don't understand. I mean, even like Final Fantasy 7 turn-based or 10. 10 was like the pinnacle, right?
Yeah.
Of like the turn-based system. It was great.
That's why Octopath basically works like 10. It has the initiative order at the top.
Yeah. It's very cool. Like, why not try it again?
Yeah, well, that's also why I'm probably not going to buy 16 from what I've seen until it goes on sale way later, like a winter sale or something. But I definitely will be buying Triangle Strategy next time I've got entertainment funds for it. And I'll be buying the remake of Live Alive. I'll be buying the Dragon Quest 3 remake when it comes out, and I'll be buying whatever sequel to Octopath Traveler or whatever. I like those games. I like the way they're playing. If they make another Bravely Default, I'll buy that one too because I liked the way Bravely Default played. Those are the games I want to support. And apparently they're doing really well because they keep making them. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, guess what just came out this week other than Kirby?
All
Kirby
I've heard was Kirby. What else came out?
Also, Rune Factory 5.
Oh,
finally!
I forgot they were still making Rune Factories. It's been a long time.
I know it's been forever. I didn't know if they was ever going to come out, but just came out this week, and the the person who got me hooked on Animal Crossing let me know.
Yeah, that was such a weird thing too, right? Like, I remember reading Nintendo Power when the first like Harvest Moon Rune Factory came out, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This isn't Harvest Moon. This is something completely different. But it's a cool game. Like, I like Rune Factory. You're just like,
I've never.
It's confusing at first because it's like, you have no idea how different it's going to be from the game you were playing before.
Yeah, but apparently, it looks really good, and I mean, I think Rune Factory 4 was really popular, but it wasn't. But that was released in 2012, so it's been 10 years.
A long ass time, whole decade.
But you can tame monsters and apparently build shops and silos or something about silo expansions. I don't know. I've never played it, but it looks cool. So if you're
into a more RPG experience. That's what Rune Factory's always kind of been. Which they what's his name? Concerned Ape has kind of brought that into Stardew when he made it. Because there's the dungeon you can go down to with the slimes and everything, the mines. Yeah. So like there are some Rune Factory stuff that he kept around, just didn't go overboard on. Because the problem is Rune Factory kind of replaced Harvest Moon for quite a while until they came back with the Story of Seasons. Well, and that disappointed a lot of people. Like, I think Rune Factory is a good game, but in the same way, for a while, you weren't seeing a traditional Harvest Moon game at the same time, right? You weren't getting both. It was like one or the other. Yeah. In fact, that also might be the same reason why you haven't seen a Rune Factory in a while, because they've been working on the Story of Seasons stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, was there another recent release along those lines?
I don't remember.
I know because I was playing the demo. I don't think I ever bought it. Oh yeah, Story of Seasons, Pioneers of Olive Town. I got the.
Oh, I thought that was old at this point. When did Pioneers come out?
I thought it just came out on Switch.
Let me look. Yeah, okay. Apparently it did. It probably just shares a name with an older Stories of Season, like something close to it. Because the Olive Town part is the one that sounds familiar. Is it like a prequel? Is this like when Olive Town was being founded?
I guess. It looks like it was originally released last February, but I think it was just released on the Switch this past September.
Yeah, it says February 25th, 2021.
Yeah. But I've got it. I've played the demo, and it's fun. But I don't know. It's a bit repetitive and just kind of the game loop in it is just repetitive. It's just like, okay, build up to the next thing, and then you can do the next thing, and you can. It's like, I don't know. It wasn't compelling enough for me to buy it, but I'll have to see. I don't know if Rune Factory has a demo or not. You can get.
I don't know.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, well, so
Kirby was also released this week.
Kirby was released. I haven't played it. I toyed around with the demo a little bit, but I haven't played the actual game. I want to. It looks fun as fuck. But also, I've been, aside from working on shit, soaking what little free time I have into that Octopath Traveler closed beta, which I've been enjoying the shit out of. I actually wanted to talk about that for a little bit. Because, oh boy, Octopath Traveler is probably my favorite game that I've played in like the last 5 or so years. I would say, like, I enjoyed Octopath so much. My first run of the game, I spent like 120 hours in it. And I've played more since then. I don't even know how much time I've soaked into Octopath. But this one just feels like I'm playing the game. And I'm usually, like, I like mobile games. They're a good way to pass time. But like, I'll always give them 2 reviews. I'm like, this is how I review it compared to games in general. This is how I review it if I was only looking at it as far as a mobile game goes, right? But this one, I don't feel like I have to do that. It feels enough like an actual console game. It's like with Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact was like one of the few games I could review as a game and not just as a mobile game, which even then, like, the review wasn't that good because the gacha stuff was really pulling that game back. This game, I barely even noticed that it's a gacha the entire time I'm playing it because it really doesn't impact the game that much. In fact, I don't even know if there's a leaderboard or anything competitive so far, or if that stuff's not going to start until the game goes live. As far as I know, even though I'm playing this online experience, I'm just isolated in my own instance of the game. And it is a full world. You're still on the exact same continent. That's why it's called Champions of the Continent. The map is basically the same. The pathing has been streamlined. So instead of walking around all Paper Mario style in this like 3D environment, you swipe left and right or up and down to turn down paths and you walk down it. But you can stop at any time. It's not like you're jumping between points. You're not like on a mission and you're like, this is mission 1, this is mission 2. All the encounters are random encounters. You're literally walking around the world as normal. They just made it easy to walk around on a mobile device. You're leveling up your characters like normal. It's got all the same items. It has leaves in it, which is their world's version of gold or gil or whatever. So you're actually buying equipment for your characters from shops the way you would in a normal RPG. If your characters are damaged, you go to the inn and sleep for the night like you would in a normal RPG. It does have fast travel, but it's not like some weird mission-based fast travel. It's the exact same one that was in the base games. You unlock a town by going to it, and now you can fast travel between the towns that you've already visited. It's very restricted right now. There's only 3 towns. But it's also close.
This is called what? Octopath?
Octopath Traveler, Champions of the Continent. You will not find it on the store right now. You had to have signed up through the closed beta link that they gave you back then. And now the closed beta is started, so you won't see it anywhere until it goes live. But it is fun. I've been enjoying it. The combat is actual combat. Like actual turn-based RPG combat. Yeah. It's not like a lot of RPGs, it's all auto combat for the most part, right? You hit attack and they do their thing. I guess you could say it's more akin to Brave Exvius because you could pick spells and stuff to do individually, but you couldn't pick your target in that game. In this one, you can. So if you click on a character and then you click on the target first before the move, you actually can pick which target things are going. It has the same break system from Octopath, so you do have to pay attention to your weapons. There aren't multi-classing. So in Octopath, everybody had their base class, but then you could give them a second class. So all 8 classes could be applied to anybody, and they could have multiple weapons. Instead, you actually have 8 people on your team at all times, with just a front row of 4. And if you need to use somebody else's stuff, you can switch them out, and it doesn't waste a turn to switch people. It just switches your front and back line, and you can keep switching them back and forth, which is really good because it makes the break system cracked in a strategic way, because everybody is building up battle points all the time. So you could like burst somebody down and then switch them out, and the next turn you could burst them down again. And it's I don't know, I'm having a lot of fun with it. The characters are all unique. The storytelling is actually pretty good, because a lot of mobile games I play, storytelling's crap. It's like throwaway stuff that some sitcom writer for Cartoon Network might write. Not modern day, older Cartoon Network, but like some sitcom writer would write. But this, it feels like I'm playing the main game. The first story that I decided to do, I'm like tracking down this evil rich witch who's like this Marie Antoinette type figure, but actually malicious. Unlike the royals in France, they were more ignorant than anything. That whole line, "Let them eat cake," that wasn't malicious. That was, they literally did not understand the plight of people. It's like, well, if they can't eat bread, just let them eat cake. But this is like an actual malicious person that's modeled like that, and she's got like the town hooked on this drug called powder. So you're actually taking down like a drug cartel of sorts. And she's been like siphoning all the money out of the town by giving them this highly addictive drug that she's been concocting, and has this really rich mansion. It's fun. I've only done like the first chapter for that story. But it actually, like, it's rough, like you expect from like a Final Fantasy type story. There's like a real world plights that people are going through in this game. Mm-hmm. It has 3 main paths instead of like the 8 tails that you're dealing with in the first Octopath. And you get a rank up for completing things or doing different tasks involved in it. So you have the path of fame, the path of wealth, and the path of power. As you go through, you get like bonuses to your team when those rank up, but you're also trying to fight the bosses during those paths. Each traveler you pick up, eventually they have a quest line of their own that you go through, so you do get to know the characters. Every single traveler that you like gotcha summon has a story of their own and a personality, character development. And there's a fuck ton of side quests in the game too. It's not just that, like, you just walk around, random people got a exclamation mark above their head, "Hey, I need you to go run to the other side of the continent and fetch this very rare egg for me for this medicine that I need to make." And like, okay, man, I'll do it. And it's a fun game. There's even town building in it. Like, this was something Octopath didn't have. There's this nameless town that is like ruins, this like wiped out structure. And one of these NPC's story quest is kind of like rebuilding this town. So you have to keep collecting lumber for her. And it's like, I don't know. It's cool. I love town building, especially the first building that I built had a bed in it. So now if I go back to that town, I don't have to pay money to sleep at the inn. I can just sleep in the bed of the house that I built. So it rewards you for completing that quest line. Like, this is literally, it's just a legit game. When it comes out, because I recommend Octopath to everyone. Obviously, you've heard me recommend it to people a lot. I think it's a very underrated game. I think people should play it. If they're into phone games, if you don't mind gotchas too much, because these are all new characters, so it's not like it's anybody you're attached to that you're like, oh no, I need to get this character. If you just want to play it casually, I think anybody could enjoy this game that likes turn-based RPGs.
Yeah. Sounds cool.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to play more as soon as we're done with this. Well,
but you can't get it. You can't get it right now if you're not in the beta.
No. I actually did not check to see if the original link still works or not. If you could like try to apply for the beta that way. I should. I know it's somewhere in the Vomitorium Discord if we scroll up far enough, because I posted it in there. It's also somewhere in the live stream chat, but God, good luck finding anything in that without the search button.
Is that the one that I did sign up for, but I forgot that I did?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't remember.
Oh well.
I think you did. You signed up for something. That's the only closed beta I can remember us talking about on the show. Because you're like, oh, is it going to be an Apple? It's like, no, it's Android only. And you're like, well, I can sign up for it on the Play Store.
Okay, now I remember. Yes.
Yeah.
I did sign up for it, but I don't have an Android device.
Well, I don't know if I've gotten it working yet. I was able to install it on BlueStacks. You can always try emulating it. You do need a 64-bit BlueStacks or player, but when you make a new thing, it'll ask you, do you want to be 32, 64, Nugget or whatever. But yeah, no. I don't know how much you have to do to make it playable, but it is playable on BlueStacks technically. It just might need some fiddling around with, which I've been trying to do because I would prefer to play it on my computer than on my phone.
I did sign up for it. I keep forgetting that I signed up for it. But I was like,
fun game.
Did, but obviously I don't know.
There's not even like a friend system in it yet, so I don't even know what the online capacity of this game is going to be, or if it's just going to stay a single player experience that just has a games of a service experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool if you could do like raid battles with other people where you bring in your front and back line that you could switch between, and they each bring in theirs. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Because they start you off with a 5-star character, which is the main character of the game. Her name is I want to say Fior, because I think it's the French name where you barely pronounce any of these letters. It's just one sound, Fior. But it could be Fiore, depending on what the background of the character is supposed to be. I'm going to call her Fior for now. But you play as her, Fiore, and she's 5 stars, so she already has her level cap at 80. You are going to have to do things to bring it up to 99 or whatever, but actually, I don't know, maybe they'll go with the modern 120 that they do with games. In Octopath Traveler, it was 99, though. So hers is already unlocked to the base cap. But I've got good luck. I've already unlocked another 5-star character who has a pole arm, and he's just like stabbing people. But like, I've been having a lot of fun. The characters are likable. All the characters so far are likable. I have not ran into a Hunnet. I'm not a fan of Hunnet. Mostly because she's boring. She's the most boring character in Octopath Traveler. And she speaks in this really retarded way that I don't know if it's a translation thing, why they chose to do that in English. Maybe her people are supposed to be speaking like an old Edo way in Japanese, so they went with like this Shakespearean speaking way for her town. But it doesn't even sound like proper Shakespearean era English. It sounds like a middle schooler discovered Shakespeare for the first time, and he's trying to write a character that resembles Shakespearean era English.
So there's voice acting?
Yes, but I think it's only because it's a closed beta and there's a lot of characters. Only Japanese voice acting right now. So you have like the English text and Japanese. Maybe by the time it goes live or whatever, they'll have some English voices. I don't know. Maybe they'll only leave it Japanese. Same music for the game. Same battle music, everything. Why recompose music for a game that's basically taking place at the same time as the other one? Same environments. Same sprites for enemies because you're fighting in the same areas. The only stuff that's got new sprites are obviously all the travelers have their own sprite sheet, and the bosses and their minions have new sprites. But like as far as like the overworld enemies, well, you're fighting in the same wilderness as you were before, so you'd expect to run into the same enemies as you did before.
Yeah,
it's fun. That's the best review I can give it. The only downside, I did put like a short review in the public forum, I think 2 days ago. The downsides were it is a gacha game, right? And while you barely feel that it's a gacha game, eventually some of my characters I'm going to hit their level cap on, right? So you do have to start prioritizing which ones do I want to limit break and awaken to higher level caps. You do have to think about which characters you like more than others. And to some degree, the game will help decide that too, because while you can grind the default guide stones, it's cheaper to upgrade somebody when you get more of their stones from dupes, right? Like if you get a duplicate drop, it'll just give you upgrade material instead. But also, it can only be played on a mobile device unless you emulate it. That's the only thing. Hopefully it'll come to Switch or whatever, because this game looks fully capable of playing on a console. Like controller commands would work just fine with a game like this. And it is online only, which means since it's a game as a service, at some time in the far future, they could just kind of like choose to cut the service at any time. But they could always freeze it into a single player mode, the way the game's set up. If they don't include all of this online crap that's not in the game yet, they could always just give you a final patch of the game.
Yeah.
And they could patch it. They could make it easier for you to grind the in-game stuff so they don't have to update weeklies themselves. Or they could just make all the stuff free at the end of the life cycle, whatever. I don't know. But like they could just give you a frozen version where you don't need the online access. And I hope they do that because I don't want to be very attached to this game and then pull another Mobius Final Fantasy, which I've complained about many of times on here. It was my favorite mobile game, and they fucking killed it.
Yeah.
Bring it to the Switch. Yes. Bring it to the Switch, Square. I'm going to yell at you.
You know, it's funny because I went to the website for it. Every freaking website I go to now has a Rune Factory 5 ad on it.
That's funny.
Like, how did you know?
How did you know?
Browser watching me.
It's Google more than anything, but yeah.
Yeah, keeping track of what I'm doing.
Fucking Google. But yeah, if we scroll up long enough in the public forum, I think there is still a link to the beta invite. I don't know if it works, though. They've probably closed it out. I'm going to keep scrolling and look for it. We post a lot of links. I don't know if we actually put the word Octopath Traveler in there, so I don't know if searching for it would actually help. Well. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for the show. We're at about the end. It's 7:28.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been a bit of a slow news week.
Yeah.
Oh, we could talk about Halo, the TV show.
Oh my God, Halo, the TV show. Oh, we knew that was going to be trash.
And that's on,
Paramount.
Paramount Plus?
Yes.
God, that's yet another fucking streaming service I'm not going to pay for.
Same.
No,
I have access to it because I think my mom has it with her Prime package or whatever. So if we want to watch it, we have to go into Amazon Prime and then use the Paramount Plus stuff from the Amazon Prime streaming app. But I only used it for the South Park specials. That was it. I didn't give a shit about anything else.
Yeah.
Because
I've heard nothing good about it. Oh, hey.
No.
Breaking news, like 23 minutes ago, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection, is up for pre-order.
Hey! That's cool. I know you were looking forward to that.
Yeah, won't be released until later this year, but apparently it's available for pre-order now. So,
yeah.
That's all.
I'm still trying to find this though. It's got to be here somewhere.
What, Halo?
No. This is fucking the beta invite that I don't even know if it works anymore. But I'm just curious to see if we still have it in here. Like I'm pretty sure we posted it. You know what? We probably only posted in the live chat, and that one would be impossible to scroll. I'll find it later. I want to see if people can still join it up if they left the link active by accident or whatever, because it's a fun game, and I want people to enjoy it, even though it's probably, I don't know how long the beta is going to last, a month or two tops before it goes live anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to make sure all the bugs are kinked out of it. I haven't ran into any bugs yet. Especially on my phone, the game hasn't even crashed on me once, so it's like I think they're probably fine. There's some features that aren't available yet, like there's certain parts of the exchange that hasn't been put in, certain microtransaction features that haven't been put in yet, like I don't even think you can buy the in-game currency yet because it's in the beta, but they keep giving us shit. Like I keep getting free amounts of currency because they want you to be able to like do the rolls and try things out, but I think mostly they've just been giving us tickets for rolls. I've been getting enough currency to do 10 times rolls by just playing the game. Like they haven't given any of the actual currency or anything, just like free tickets. Yeah.
All right, enough about this game.
No, more. I'm kidding. It's at the end of the show anyway. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please Share it with somebody else who might like it. If you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. We have already reached our monthly fees, but I mean, look at that date. Look at the time. We're almost at the end of the month anyway. So you can always consider donating now to help out, or you can wait till next month because you want to see that little slider go up. I'm not too picky. Just consider donating. And we'll see you guys in the next episode, which will be Sunday because you're busy on Saturday.
Right.
Well, no, we might have a Wednesday. Maybe. Wednesday might be canceled because I have stuff. Yeah, we'll announce if it's canceled or not. Maybe Wednesday, definitely Sunday.
Yeah.
And we'll see you then.
See ya.